Hi, good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to give everyone a minute to come on into the Zoom room and then we will get started in just a minute. All right. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's Predental Prep webinar. My name is Sarah Murphy and I am the Director of Membership for ASDA. I will be tonight's moderator for the webinar, and we are so excited to welcome our panelists this evening. Dr. Jasmine Cromartie Hicks is our first panelist. She serves as the Director of Student Admissions and Engagement and Clinical Assistant Professor of General Dentistry at the Workman School of Dental Medicine at High Point University, which is one of ASDA's newest chapters. Dr. Cromartie Hicks obtained her master's in intercultural services in healthcare from Wake Forest University and then earned both her Doctor of Dental Medicine degree and Advanced Education in General Dentistry certificate with distinction from East Carolina University School of Dental Medicine. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Cromartie Hicks. Next up, we have Stephen Elias, who is the Vice President Campus Relations Manager at PNC Bank Student Lending. He brings extensive expertise in guiding students and their families through the complexities of financing higher education. With a strong foundation in financial aid and student lending, he possesses a unique blend of technical knowledge and personal insight into financing needs of students at every stage of their academic journey. Thanks for being here, Stephen. Next up, we have Bralia Espinosa, who is the Senior Director for Student and Diversity Affairs at the University of Illinois Chicago College of Dentistry. Bralia is a visionary leader in the field of higher education with over 21 years of experience in planning, directing, and correlating operations across the areas of enrollment management, admissions, and student services. And last but certainly not least is Dr. Brett Ferdinand, who began writing the gold standard MCAT textbook while enrolled in medical school and in 1994 published its first version. He now serves as the CEO of Gold Standard Media, which offers online practice tests, videos, and other tools to simplify the learning experience. For more than 30 years, the Gold Standard MCAT has helped tens of thousands of students improve their chances of medical school admissions. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Now, before we begin, I'd like to take a minute to talk about Predental membership benefits with ASDA. Becoming a Predental member gets you a copy of ASDA's Getting Into Dental School Guide, which provides vital admission information on every single dental school in the US and also Puerto Rico. It also has application tips, interview preparation, financial planning, guidance, and more. All Predental members will also receive regular communications from ASDA that include event information, resources, networking tips, and topics related to getting into dental school. And finally, one of the newest benefits that ASDA has created for Predental members is the Mentor Match program. Throughout the year, Predental members can sign up to be paired with a dental student mentor to help them better prepare for dental school. The next match will take place in June, so now's the time to register for the program. You can click on the link in the chat to become a member and register for the mentor program today. Also, this webinar will be recorded and available to ASDA members through our website, so you'll receive that link after tonight's session. And we'll take questions for the panelists throughout the webinar. You can submit questions at any time through the Q&A function. Now, let's learn a little bit more about our panelists. Dr. Cromartie Hicks, do you want to take a few minutes and tell us about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. A little bit about myself. I'm married with a 11-month-old son. So if you hear him a little active in the background, that's what that noise is. I am born and raised here in North Carolina. Like she had stated, I work currently for High Point University, Workman School of Dental Medicine, which is in High Point, North Carolina. And I went to High Point for an undergrad. So I call myself purple through and through. I'm so happy to be back as inaugural faculty here at the dental school. I'm also a clinical assistant professor, so a general dentist by training, and I work in our owned and operated practices for the school. And I love connecting with future dentists. I'm here for any and all questions, and I look forward to participating tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Stephen?
Good evening, and thank you to ASDA for inviting me to participate this evening. My background is in student financial aid and student loans. On the student loan side, I've worked for some of the largest student lenders in the country, including PNC Bank, where I'm currently at now. Through my student lending career, I've had the pleasure of working with various dental schools across the country, as well as many dental students on an individual basis as well. I've also had the pleasure of presenting at various dental conferences across the country on the subjects of financial aid and student lending. On the school side, I've worked with incoming freshman students and their families, all the way to being director of graduate and professional school financial aid. So sort of had a good balance of working directly on the school side, as well as helping students and families finance their higher education. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bralia?
Yes, thank you so much, Sarah. I'm excited to be participating in the webinar today. And just a little bit about myself. I was raised in the city of Chicago, but even though I was raised there, I'm not, I hate winters. But it seems like we are eternally in winter here. Summer is just not coming around fast enough. And I have had the pleasure to work with our college admissions committee at UIC for the last 17 years, and it has been a true pleasure. Additionally, in addition to working with prospective students, I also work with current dental students, and I truly love the connections that I have been able to make with the prospective students I've met, and obviously now with many of our alums. And again, thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. And Dr. Ferdinand?
Hello there. I'm Dr. Ferdinand. I'm a medical doctor, and there's one thing about me that would be a nightmare for DAT students. I've studied the DAT for over 15 years. I hope none of you will ever have to do such a thing. But of course, I've done that only so that I can write books about the DAT, six of which I've written, and one of which won a book award in a reference category. Whatever you're using to prepare for the DAT, I will be able to provide some general advice in terms of your studying, how much time, and so on. And of course, to allay those fears about the new way that the DAT is being scored. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's the perfect segue into some of our questions this evening. So, all of the registrants had an opportunity to submit questions when they registered for tonight's webinar. So, we have those here for all of you to answer and share your expertise and knowledge. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The first question this evening is, how do I apply for financial aid, including scholarships, for dental school? Stephen, do you want to start?
Sure, thank you for that question. And students must complete the free application for federal student aid, commonly called the FAFSA, at studentaid.gov to be considered for federal financial aid and most types of school assistance. You should use the same FSA ID and password to complete the FAFSA as you used as an undergraduate student. If you don't have an FSA ID, you'll need to complete the process on studentaid.gov to get an FSA ID. Students will submit their FAFSA along with any other financial applications or supporting information that their chosen dental schools may require. They'll want to check with the financial aid office at each dental school to see what their on-time financial aid application deadline is. Then they'll want to comply with the earliest deadline of the schools they're applying to. The FAFSA is available beginning October 1st of each year. Some financial aid is awarded on a first come, first served basis. So generally, it's a good idea to fill out the FAFSA as soon as possible after October 1st. Dental school students are considered independent for financial aid and FAFSA purposes, so they're not required to provide any information about parents' finances. If students are married, they will need to provide spousal information, however. Some dental schools may require parental information to be considered for any campus-based grants, scholarships, or loans. And again, I would invite you to check with the individual financial aid office at the schools you're applying to see exactly what their requirements are. The FAFSA is usually processed by the U.S. Department of Education in 3 to 5 days. Students will receive an email notification that includes a link to their electronic student aid report, commonly called the SAR. Once they get the SAR, they'll want to review it to make sure it's complete and accurate and make any necessary corrections. The dental schools that the students are accepted to will then review the FAFSA information and other supporting documentation and send the student a financial aid award letter that details the scholarships, grants, and federal student loans that they're eligible to receive. If you have any questions on your financial aid award letter, you want to contact the school's financial aid office directly. As this website has a great list of scholarships, grants, and loan repayment programs for dental students, so I'd invite you to review that to see what else you may qualify for. I also suggest that you're sure to keep either a paper or electronic record of all the financial aid related documents you receive and any correspondence you have with the school's financial aid office or your student lender. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is about interviewing, and that is, what is the best way to prepare for the interview day and the specific types of experiences? Dr. Cromartie Hicks, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. My advice is no matter what type of interview that you are doing, whether it's a multiple mini interview where you have multiple questions that are short at a time, or one-on-one interviews, or a panel type of interview, my advice is to practice, practice, practice as much as you can. So the way that you prepare for that can kind of be the same depending on the type of interview. And my advice is really to practice, especially if you get nervous easily in that type of environment. It can be a little intimidating and anxiety inducing. But you can practice with a friend, you can practice with a trusted mentor. Uh, Anyone that's going to give you honest and thorough feedback is really the key. And you want to practice and make sure that your responses are concise, because the objective is to get to the point as quickly as you can. So you don't want your responses to be very long-winded. Also, you can record yourself. You'd be surprised the type of body language that you could observe yourself doing and not even consciously doing it. Recording yourself is also a really good thing that you can do. Body language and also saying multiple times. I am guilty of it as well. We say sometimes as fillers when we're kind of transitioning to another sentence or another thought. And so my advice also is to do your research. Know the programs that you are applying to inside and out. If you have the opportunity to ask current students what their interview experiences were like and how they prepared, and if they felt good about that experience, it always helps you to know kind of what's coming. And also beware of asking questions to those that you're interviewing with that may be available on the website. It may show a lack of research. So always do your research. Beware of asking questions that are just blatant on their website. And if you know who you're interviewing with ahead of time, research that interviewer. Have some points to talk about that can be more conversational. And also come prepared with questions at the end. I guarantee you, whoever is interviewing you is going to ask, do you have any questions for me at the very end? And you always want to be prepared to ask some questions for them at the end. So that's really my advice is no matter if you're doing a multiple mini interview or a one-on-one or a panel, the preparation can be very similar. You can also have an arsenal of responses that you can tweak depending on the type of questions that are asked. But the key is not to memorize the response. It's to be your authentic self. And in order to do that, you don't want to seem so rehearsed. So have an arsenal of responses that you can definitely um, give in order to demonstrate who you are to the best of your ability. But practice definitely makes perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in on that question?
I can add, oh, go ahead, sorry.
That was just an amazing response summary. I can only add just a few things on the fringes, and that is that of course you want to Google the place that you're going to be having your interview, just in case there are some websites like studentdoctor.net that sometimes will post some of the questions that people have had in past years and some of the experiences they had when going there, so that you mentally prepare of what the layout of the area is. So that can sometimes be helpful. And also, if prior to your interview, you have some experiences using your hands, manipulating things, playing piano, classical piano or jazz piano, or crochet, pottery, anything, you will look for opportunities to mention that, because manipulating things with your hands in dentistry, it's always a positive feature that they see in interviews. That's all I can add, but everything else she said was amazing. Thank you.
Braulio, would you like to add anything?
So the other thing that I would like to add is that you should pull up your application that you submitted and review it. Review your personal statement and again, just your application. So everything that you included in your application is fresh and you have a good set of experiences that you can cite in the interview. Because you might think, well, I know my application, but if you submit your application in June and you're interviewing potentially, let's just say in September or October, that has been some months have passed, and it's very easy to forget the highlights of your application, and it could be easy to forget to mention them during the interview. And in fact, that does happen to a lot of students. It is very common for that to happen, where the committee says, that student didn't mention that. I wish they would have mentioned that, right? Another thing is that, as was already mentioned, Google the school, right? Do your research about the school. That seems like it's very easy, but it's probably one of the things that students don't do, where they don't know enough about the school and they can't state why they would like to attend that school. And for faculty that are interviewing you, I mean, that's a big no-no because you don't know anything about that school and why you would like to attend that school. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Those are great responses. Our next question is, what are the most effective study strategies for the DAT? Dr. Ferdinand, would you like to take that one?
Sure. I think that it could be summarized in three words: learn, review, and practice. And so usually you would have completed the basic sciences, the natural sciences for the DAT prior to taking the exam. If you didn't, then of course you're going to have to learn those specific parts of either organic chemistry or general chemistry or biology. But DAT PAT is something that most people have to learn. You have to learn, three-dimensional spaces to understand it and to apply it to the exam in the way that the ADA wishes you to do. And so there's learning involved there. And Then you've got to review the basic sciences that you've already seen before, biology, for example. You're going to have to go back over that. Now, of course, you can use many different things. As you know, I've written the gold standard DAT books, but people sometimes use Kaplan or Princeton Review or Boot Camp. Those are all popular options as well. But in the books that I've written, the idea that I try to get to students is to take very brief notes as you're learning. Brief notes. So those are the types of notes that you can keep looking over every weekend, rather than epic notes, which are as long as the chapter themselves. That's not what you want. And so you start reading all of your notes from the beginning every weekend as you're going towards the exam. And that way, something that you learned on day one, you're not going to forget 3 months later because you've been seeing it again and again every weekend as you're coming closer to the exam. And of course, that has the next question that students often want to ask is, but how long do I have to study? So typically, 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 hours a day is typical for DAT success. Now, there are some students who are fantastic in the natural sciences and they understand three-dimensional spaces easily, and they might study 1 or 2 months and be very successful. And others, 3 to 6 months might not be enough. So, on average, 3 to 6 hours a day for 3 to 6 months for DAT success. And of course, practice tests. So, learn, review, and then practice. Full length DAT practice tests as you start approaching the exam itself. And that will, of course, improve your confidence and understanding of the exam itself.
Thank you, Dr. Ferdinand. Before we move on to the next question, I would like to introduce our ASDA National President, Payal Patel, who has joined us straight from dental school. She's been running all day. So thank you so much for being here, Payal.
Thank you, Sarah. Sorry, everyone, running a little bit behind with clinics, so had to rush back in here, but I appreciate the introduction. And then I'll just introduce myself again. I'm a third year, almost transitioning into a fourth year currently. So we're on that cusp right now at AT Still University in Arizona. And so I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Payal. Our next question is, do I have to pay my undergraduate student loans while in dental school? Stephen, would you like to take that one?
Sure, and that's a great question, and I'm sure on top of mind to lots of students. Generally, federal student loans have a 6 month grace period after graduation or leaving school. So for those students who go right from completing their undergraduate education and then starting dental school, generally their undergraduate loans would automatically be deferred. All schools across the country report electronically to the Federal Student Loan Clearinghouse. That takes that information and dispenses it to the schools that the students are attending. And then also it shares it with the federal government so that the federal government knows the student has re-enrolled in dental school and their loans would automatically be deferred. If the student took some time off between completing their undergraduate education and going to dental school, let's say you took a gap year or two, for example, then you want to make sure that your loans do go into deferment. You really want to do that in all cases. The process is usually seamless, but it is the student's responsibility to make sure your loans are in deferment if you think they are, because you don't want to not pay them when they're not in deferment, and then you could go into arrears and eventually default. And as you probably heard, the federal government within the last few weeks or so has finally, after COVID, begun to start to do debt collections on federal student loans, including garnishment of wages and in the regulation, there's even ties to professional licenses. So certainly dentists don't want that to happen. So although the process is pretty seamless, you will to some degree want to sort of babysit it and make sure that your loans are in deferment. And you can check on studentaid.gov under the student loan section to see the current status of your loans. Or I'd even encourage you to contact your student loan servicer as well to make sure that your loans are in deferment while you're in dental school. If you do have private student loans as an undergraduate, generally most private lenders do defer student loans as well as students in graduate or professional school. And private loan lenders use the same resources that the federal government does. But again, you're going to want to check with your private lender or servicer to make sure that your loans are in fact in deferment and not going into default. And you really just want to check on that on an annual basis at the beginning of each school year to make sure your loans are in deferment. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll move forward with our next question. What advice can you provide for non-traditional applicants or reapplicants applying to dental school and preparing for interviews? Dr. Espinoza, if you could go ahead and help us with this question.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to just go ahead and address the different parts of the question. So this would be advice for non-traditional applicants. Definitely, I would recommend that a student enroll in additional upper level science classes. And so this could be a student that's changing careers or a student that just has been out of school for a long time. And so getting back into the classroom, taking upper level science classes, or potentially considering getting a science-based master's degree would be something that would be helpful. You want to be able to demonstrate to the admissions committee that you would be able to easily adjust to the rigors of the dental curriculum, right? Obviously, you have to be competitive, but at the same time, the committee wants the student to succeed. And so that would really help with ensuring that they feel comfortable with that applicant being successful in dental school. Also, at the same time, it would allow the applicant to get more recent letters of recommendation from science faculty that they can add to their application. Also, taking additional courses could help the student increase both their GPA and the DAT. I definitely have seen that students that just don't score as well with the DAT, sometimes it's not just about going and restudying for the DAT, it's more about taking additional science courses to enhance your biomedical science knowledge, and then you retake the DAT and you're going to improve those areas of the DAT that you want to improve. Also, shadowing or working in the dental field. If you're a career changer, definitely, because the committee will want to know why you're changing careers. And if you have shadowing or work experience in the dental field, that will really allow the applicant to be able to share why they want to change careers, why now they have a commitment and a passion for pursuing dentistry. Also, engaging in more recent volunteering community service experiences. If a student has been out of school for a while and they did community service or volunteer while in college, and so it would be important to enhance the application also holistically. Again, to show the committee that they have a commitment and a passion to pursue dentistry, and that dentistry is a good fit for that candidate. In regards to reapplicants and advice for reapplicants, I would definitely recommend that the student schedule an appointment with the admission with their university pre-health advisor to start out with, because a lot of students do have access to a pre-health advisor. So they should work with their pre-health advisor. And if they get declined, meet with their pre-health advisor again to come up with a strategy of how to, move forward. It would also be important to check in with the different schools where the student applied, whether it would be to meet with admission staff or whether it would be to attend a webinar that school provides, a tour, an open house. The more you can learn about the school, about what they consider uh, to be competitive attributes, the better prepared you're going to be to reapply to that school. And these are just some of the most common reasons for a student not being accepted. And definitely one would be that the student does not have a competitive GPA or DAT. The student could have applied late in the cycle. So perhaps if they reapply, if they're applying early, that would definitely make a difference. I know that, for example, at our school, we have a rolling admissions process, and we do prioritize the applications that we get June, right? June 1st or 2nd when the application cycle opens. And if a student is applying, is a good candidate, but if they're applying in December, which is our deadline, then they're just applying really late. And that can definitely have an impact on their application. Also, sometimes there are students that do restrict themselves. Sometimes it's because of location. They want to maybe just go to their state school and they are not applying to sufficient schools where they're not casting a wide net. And that definitely is something that can have an impact. So maybe do additional research. Maybe see if there are other schools that you would be a good fit for and consider submitting your application there too. Um, and so that's another tip that I have. Again, something else that I would recommend is another reason why for sure I know that a student, could definitely be denied or would have to reapply would be if they just don't have sufficient shadowing, dental shadowing experience. And our committee has definitely seen plenty of those applications where the student is applying, but they have only shadowed 10 hours, right? 20 hours. And so definitely there isn't sufficient passion, demonstration of sufficient passion for the field. And we would recommend that a student add more shadowing hours to their application. Another potential reason and something that students can improve is just make sure that their application is well-rounded, that if at our college, we have a holistic admissions process. And so if you just have a 4.0 and a great DAT and you think and you expect that you will get an interview and that you will get accepted, that may not happen because we have a holistic admissions process. Our committee is looking for candidates that are well-rounded, that have leadership experiences, volunteer experiences, research, community service. And so we are looking for those other pieces in an application. So definitely enhance those pieces of your application if you believe that you just maybe didn't have enough experience. Maybe you applied too early, where you could have added more of those experiences. And again, it's important to address those areas prior to reapplying. I know I have met with a lot of prospective students, and we're clearly indicating that the things that they might have to improve might take time, right? Like getting a master's takes time, minimum a year, 2 years. So go ahead and complete your master's, and then after that, retake the DAT. That all takes time. And it's important for students to give it that time to be able to improve their application and work on what they need to improve rather than rushing through the process. And I think that committees really appreciate when a student has taken the time to improve their application. And applicants are not, the important thing with a reapplicant is what have you done to improve your application? So a student is not penalized for reapplying. The committee is just more interested in knowing what the student has improved in their application. And that definitely is important. So plan for your reapplication. Don't rush the process. but definitely submit the application early. And I have seen students who have been reapplicants, and when they get accepted, they're the president of their class, right? So they're leaders. These are individuals that just took the time to be able to improve their application, and now they're in dental school. And in regards to apply to advice for preparing for interviews, we discussed a little bit of some tips earlier, but I do have additional that I would like to share. So do practice a lot. Do a mock interview with either your pre-health advisor or a career center advisor. Uh, we've mentioned this before, but I think it's extremely important. So I am going to mention it again. Do your homework about the school. It's very easy. They have a website. Take the time, learn about the program, learn about their curriculum, learn about their mission. It's something that's very easy to do, and that really is going to help you succeed in the interview. In our case, we have a panel interview. And so in regards to that, do answer the questions that the committee has for you or the faculty have for you in a manner that demonstrate that you're capable of being an excellent student, dental student, and eventually an outstanding professional. Because at the end of the day, they're interviewing you, and you will potentially be a future colleague of theirs. Do prepare a list of attributes and experiences that you believe are essential for success that you possess, such as integrity or the ability to think critically, and do practice integrating these key attributes into your answers, as the committee is asking you those questions. And be yourself, right? That's going to be the most important thing. Be yourself, and answer honestly. Don't answer what you think they want to hear, uh, because they will see right through it. The faculty have enough experience that even if the interview is via Zoom, they will be able to say, you know what, the student really was honest, and that really helps the interview process. So thank you so much.
Thank you again. That was such a great, insightful help and a lot of helpful tips for that question. We'll move forward with our next one. And our next question is, how can I best stimulate or simulate real DAT test conditions during my practice tests? And Dr. Fernand, if you could help us with this question.
Sure. So, test conditions. So the first thing that you should do is you should Google the test center where you are thinking that you'll be taking the exam. So you can go to Google Images and you can start seeing what the layout of that test center will be. Some test centers have modern computers and some even use laptops. Most of them have the clickety clackety type keyboards, and you want to see what it's like. And you go to Reddit or studentdoctor.net and hear from other DAT students who have been to that particular test center. Was the air conditioning on too strong? Was it too hot? What were the conditions that were there? And keeping an eye on the clock and so on. So then you have a sort of a physical idea of what it's going to be like, because there's so many studies about this. When you replicate the test conditions, when you are doing your practicing, it increases your performance. And when we're talking about DAT scores, it's marginal. 1 point out of 30 could be the difference between acceptance or not acceptance, or in the new scoring system, 10 points or 20 out of 600 could be the difference between acceptance or not acceptance. And so these are the margins. And so you want to practice with a similar type of computer that you expect that you will be using on exam day. And of course, when you're practicing for the DAT, you're going to use the same study schedule. You're not going to do a few biology questions today, a few general chemistry questions tomorrow. Once you've completed your review, so your learn, review, practice, and now you're at the point that you're practicing, then you want to do full-length exams using the same schedule as the real test. And that helps you to understand when do you have coffee or whatever else you like to have, or how do you eat, when do you snack, when do you not snack. You're able to get your body ready for that testing experience. And then you also want to test at the same time that you're practicing. If you're practicing, in the morning or in the afternoon or whatever your body is getting used to, you want to be able to have that for the real exam. And then lots of full-length practice tests. You can get some free questions at dat-prep.com, which are gold standard DAT questions, which I prepared. You can go to Kaplan, Princeton Review, Bootcamp. You can get free questions there. And of course, the ADA. The ADA has questions. You must complete all those questions. People will complain, they're not as accurate as the current question, whatever. But those are real past DAT questions. So you're going to get that from the ADA. You're going to complete those, take very brief notes, and keep studying from your notes from all of your practice test experiences leading up to the exam.
Thank you again for that, Dr. Fernanda. That's great insights on that as well. We'll move forward with our next question. What is the average student loan debt for dental students, and are there any opportunities for loan forgiveness? So, Stephen, I'm going to go ahead and throw that to you over.
Thank you. And according to the American Dental Education Association, ADEA, the average educational debt for the class of 2024 was $312,700. Certainly, dental student debt on average is the highest of any of the professional school students. The good news is, as ADEA reports, dental school students generally have a great reputation of timely repayment of their student loans. So although their debt is high, their income generally is able to sustain paying back that debt. So that's a great thing. And frankly, dental students really shine compared to most other students across the country. Also, ADEA reports that the average dental education debt for graduating dental students has gone down over the past 2 years. So the trend is certainly in the right direction going down, and that's great to see as well. And there are some opportunities for loan forgiveness. For those students who have federal student loans and go into public service, either in the nonprofit world or government world, they are able to qualify for some federal student loan forgiveness. Generally, the way it works now, if the students qualify, after 10 years, the rest of their loans are forgiven, or in some cases, a little bit longer. I do want to note, though, that with a lot going on in higher education and certainly in financial aid and student loans, there are a lot of changes that are proposed recently in Congress and are in the process of going through Congress now. And one of the things that may change would be the public service loan forgiveness. So I invite you to stay tuned. Hopefully there'll still be some forgiveness, but it probably will change from what it is today. So it's probably not worth going into the nitty-gritty details since it's probably going to change. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we'll move forward with our very last question. What are ways to prepare to pitch yourself during a dental school interview? And Dr. Cromartie Hicks, I would love for you to help us answer this question.
Sure. Thank you so much. I want to dive into that as well, but then I also want to revisit some advice for non-traditional and reapplicants. So as far as preparing your pitch for dental school interviews, You're likely going to be asked, why do you want to be a dentist and why do you want to go to such and such school? It's one of those tired questions that you're anticipating, but I don't want you to overthink your pitch. Again, being concise is key. Saying less sometimes is more, and you don't want to lose your audience, which is the admissions committee. Your pitch should be around 2 to 3 minutes when you practice, but you should be able to take snippets of that and respond to multiple questions. You need to be able to answer why you, why that program, and why dentistry. If you can take dentistry out and plug in pharmacy or physical therapy or PA or nursing, then you need to readjust your pitch. You need to make sure that your pitch is specifically geared for dentistry. You need to be able to be prepared to talk about why you're a great fit for that specific program that you're applying to. That means you have to do your research and make sure that you are in alignment with the school's mission, values, and goals, and their vision. And you need to be able to demonstrate how that program will help you achieve your goals. So, again, dental school admissions committees, we just want you to be your authentic self. And in order to do that, you have to be able to talk about the experiences that you've had to lead you up to that position. It doesn't always have to be dental related, in regards to your experiences. We want to hear what you're passionate about. So, for example, if you say you're passionate about serving the underserved, what exactly do you mean by that? The underserved could be, for example, veterans, geriatric population. It could be children. We know that childhood caries is one of the most number one unmet health need in children. It could be those that have cognitive disabilities. It could be patients that English is not their first language, so they have limited English proficiencies. When you talk about serving the underserved, it may help to be able to talk about who the underserved is. So spell it out for the admissions committee so that they can understand why you're passionate about a certain cause. So that's my advice for a pitch. And I wanted to just briefly touch also on advice for non-traditional students and reapplicants. I myself was both a non-traditional student and a reapplicant. I did not get into dental school the first time that I applied in all transparency. And I think that it helped me the second go round because I did, I think, what I needed to do in order to be prepared the second time. One of those things was retesting for the DAT to make sure that my score went up and learning better testing strategies and how to pace myself while studying. High Point University Workman School of Medicine does not require the DAT, but for those that are taking it and applying to other programs, he's giving great advice. Dr. Fernie is giving great advice tonight, so please take heed to that. For reapplicants, I just want to note that there is no shame in being a reapplicant to dental school. It's extremely competitive to apply to dental school and be admitted. So as a reapplicant, you want to be prepared to talk about what you've done, as Ms. Espinoza said, when you're reapplying, especially to a particular program that has given you feedback. You want to make sure that you are discussing how you've applied that feedback. And she also mentioned something that was really great with the timing. If you need more time to build your competitiveness to reapply, then take the time to do that so that you are really, really digesting that feedback. I'll note that the incoming cohort that we have at the Workman School of Dental Medicine, half of the class, that's 50% of 60 students, are reapplicants. And that's out of, over 1,200 applications. So I would say reapplying can always help, especially if you're doing your research and you're taking the feedback that the school is giving you. For non-traditional applicants, there is strength in a non-traditional applicant journey, especially if you can articulate what you've done to prepare for dental school and talk about your unique experiences for that program. So non-traditional could mean anyone that's not going straight into undergraduate studies. So if you're doing a post-baccalaureate program, if you're doing a master's, like we've talked about, if you've just worked out in the field or you're pivoting from a different career, we would consider you non-traditional. And so science-based masters are great. They're not for everyone. So don't think that just because it exists, you have to do that or go into more debt in order to be competitive. 20% of the applications that I'm seeing have master's degrees. So it's becoming more and more popular, and there are some really great programs out there if pursuing a master's is what you need to do. So I also wanted to say that for shadowing, we for our dental school, we'd like to see both general dentistry and specialty shadowing because it does show an interest in the field, but it also shows that you've taken the initiative to see what all dentistry has to encompass. So yes, I just wanted to mention that as far as advice. You're encouraged always to engage in recent volunteering and community service. and continue to attend informational sessions like this. I'm grateful for ASDA doing this webinar. And the last thing that I will say is apply early. I know you've heard that over and over again. We really mean it. Applying early will increase your chances for opportunities for interviews as well as being admitted. So if you're a reapplicant or traditional or non-traditional student or a traditional student, be encouraged and give it your best shot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cromartie Hicks. Thank you for your insight for the pitch, and then also just being as a reapplicant or a non-traditional student as well. We'll move on to our final thoughts and key takeaways from our panelists. And so we'll start with Mr. Steven with our very first key takeaway.
Thank you. And again, thank you for inviting me to join you this evening. From the financial aid side of things, the key takeaway is to make sure you're applying for financial aid in a timely fashion. Ask the schools that you're applying to what their on-time deadline is, and make sure you comply with the earliest school that you're looking at. Certainly, applying on time can help you receive more financial aid. Also, we talked about the amount of debt that dental students take on, and don't be intimidated by that. The vast majority of dental students go on and graduate and are very successful in their careers and very successful financially. And the great thing about dentistry is you do have the potential for the income to support the debt that you may have from dental school and also undergrad for that matter. And don't let that scare you away. And certainly one of the other tips I'll give, sort of on the admission side is prepare yourself the best that you can. The better that you do, and the better that of the dental school you're able to get into and better fit for a program for you, the more likely you are to be successful in your career. And that's really the key to being successful for paying for your dental career. Thank you again.
Thank you. We'll move on to Dr. Ferdinand, if you could give us some key takeaways from tonight.
Yes, I mean, I want to encourage you that you can do it. You can do it. You can get that DAT done and behind you. But it takes time and energy, and everyone it's different. You'll see this in the forum. Some students they were able to not have to study too long, weeks, a month, and others it took months and unfortunately years before they were able to get it. But it's to find the preparation tools that work for you. Some people it's video, some people it's audio, making audio files, others using Anki cards as flashcards, and others it's books or ebooks. It's to find what works for you, use it early, study early, and get this thing behind you. And good luck.
Thank you. We will move forward with Dr. Cromartie Hicks, if you could give us some takeaways from tonight.
Sure. I think I've said it enough, but apply early. And I want to encourage anyone that's out there that's feeling discouraged about applying to dental school. We know it's competitive. We're here to help you and we're here to support you, and that's why we exist. So if you're determined enough, I'm confident that you will eventually get into dental school. 4 years of dental school is a huge investment. So do your research for programs that are good fits. You wouldn't want to be somewhere where you're unhappy. Encourage you also to run your own race. Don't compare yourself to anyone else that's going through the process, because no two applications are the exact same. So focus on what makes you a good fit for that program. And also use social media to your advantage. When some of us were in dental school, we didn't have access to the way that you all have it now. And so there are students all over the country that are present on social media, ready to engage with you. And I would take advantage of that and network. Come to events like this one that AS is putting on to gain insight and perspective. And also, best of luck to everyone. Our application is open and free of charge. So please apply to the HB Workman School of Dental Medicine. My team and I are awaiting your application and ready to help at any time. Thank you so much for letting me participate.
Thank you. And then Ms. Espinosa, if you could end us out with a key takeaway.
Yes. So again, whether you're a first-time applicant, non-traditional student, or reapplicant, just remember that everyone's journey into dentistry is different. Be yourself, and obviously, most importantly, don't give up on your dream of being a dentist.
All right. Thank you all so much for spending your Thursday night with us. We had a great time hosting you tonight, and thank you again to our panelists for sharing your insights, your thoughts, and all those really good information for applying this upcoming cycle. Don't forget to follow ASDA on our Instagram to find out all of our ASDA happenings and events and registrations and more. Our handle is @dentalstudents, and the direct link can be found in the chat. ASDA is here to support you throughout your pre-dental and dental school journey, so please reach out to us at membership@asdanet.org with any questions that you may have, and please visit us at asdanet.org/join to become a member. The link is also in our chat for you as well. Thank you again for participating tonight, and we'll see you at all of our future pre-dental membership events. And I hope you have a great rest of your night and a great rest of your weekend. Thank you.